State's first witness, please.
Your Honor, the state would call the victim Erik to the stand.
Mr. Good, if you would please come forward toward me. I'm going to have you stand right in front of my clerk. She's going to confirm the spelling of your name and administer an oath. Mr. Fisher, would you like this enlargement removed? Mr. Hood, if you could come around my co-reporter and please be seated to my right. Go over a couple of rules with you. First, if you could take that microphone and bring it closer to you. The woman seated in front of you is taking down a word-for-word transcription of everything you said, so all of your answers need to be verbal. You can't answer a question by shaking your head. We can see it, but you need to type what is verbally stated here in the courtroom. Also, you may know where the lawyers or I are headed with their questions. You can only type one person talking at a time. So be patient and wait for us to complete our questions before you begin answering. Also, please avoid saying or or I'll interrupt you to make sure the record's clear that you're saying yes or no. Mr. Fisher, your witness when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Erik.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead and introduce yourself to the jury. Let them know your name, how old you are, and where you're from.
How you doing, guys? My name is Erik Hood. 39 from Philadelphia. Been in Arizona. Maybe going on 2.5 years now.
And you said you're from Philadelphia. Born and raised there?
Yes, sir.
And you grew up there?
Yes, sir.
Did you go to high school out there?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. In terms of growing up, in terms of whether you played sports, things like that. So you grew up in Philadelphia, were you in that sports or athletic field?
I played in Europe for about 9 years.
And where did you go to high school back in Philadelphia?
Simon Gratz.
Now, in Phoenix, at what point did you end up moving to Phoenix? What year did you move to this city?
I moved to Phoenix September 22nd, 2015.
And when,
I'm sorry, 2014.
2014. Yeah. When you moved to Phoenix, where were you coming from?
I was coming from Philadelphia.
So is it fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you spent most of your life in Philadelphia?
Yes.
And you said that you played basketball. I think you played basketball in high school?
Yes, sir.
Did you play basketball at all after high school?
Say it again.
Did you play basketball at all after high school?
Yes, sir.
What kind of levels of basketball did you play?
I played at Lansing College, and I went on and played in 8 countries afterwards.
Okay, so when you went to other countries, was that Europe?
Yes.
And when you're playing for, how many years did you say you played over there?
9 years.
And at that point, give me a general year range when that's going on.
Year range, I want to say my last year, I went from, first job was in Finland in 1999. And my last job was in Berlin, Germany. I want to say the 2008, 2009 year.
Okay. Now, once you were done with basketball in 2008, 2009, what did you do for a living? What was your job? What did you do after that?
Pretty much, I was a liaison to a few different groups, meaning agencies. I never worked for any particular group. Pretty much I was pretty much I consulted with many of these agencies.
Let me ask you this. How did you fall into that kind of work? How did you even know about that? Can you explain a little bit?
Well, it happened when I was playing over in Germany, and at the time I didn't have any representation, and I was kind of in the middle of looking for somebody else to represent me, and there was another guy with me from Philadelphia playing on the same team with me in a small town called Iserlohn, Germany. And so I went to this website called Eurobasket, and it was just like, a whole bunch of different agencies. So what I did was I just sent the email to probably 90% of them, and one of them was interested in working with me, and he said, if you can get players such as yourself and Brandon, who was my friend, then we can split the commission 50-50. And so that was pretty much the birth of me getting into the business that I'm in now.
And was that around 2009, 2010-ish?
Yeah, pretty much.
From then on, would it be fair to say that that kind of work, which you just described to the jury, that's the kind of work that you've been doing from 2009, 2010 up until 2015 when this occurred?
Yes.
Now, you indicated that in September of 2014 you moved out to Phoenix.
Yes, sir.
What brought you to Phoenix?
There was a young man who I mentored who played basketball at the University of Arizona out in Tucson. And, him and his mother, they were vying for me to make that transition with him, crossing country like that. He was very highly regarded coming out of high school. And so, I made that transition with him. Instead of me going to Tucson, I went out there a few times on his official visit and his unofficial visit. Coming from a big city, I just thought that Tucson wouldn't be the place for me. So I decided to reside in Phoenix. That would give myself a much more of a city atmosphere, and I could just, commute whenever I need to be on campus, whenever the kid needs me or whatever like that.
Now, from again this 2009, 2010 period of time up until 2014, because that's when you're coming to Phoenix, can you say that this type of work was, you say it was your job, this was your main source of income in your time to work?
No, I wouldn't say that it was my main source of income, because I also have homes as well that I rent out and things like that. So, being able to be in an industry where the majority of the kids, don't have fathers and come from inner city backgrounds. So for me to be able to tend to a kid that needs guidance, that needs help, that needs someone to talk to, someone to lean on. I was that guy for many young people, and I still am today.
Now, I take it from, well, let me ask you the question. Do you enjoy this type of work? Do you get any sense of, obviously you've been doing it a while. Do you like what you do?
It's my calling. I believe that's why God put me on earth, to help guide kids through basketball.
Now, talk a little bit about your job. I want to jump back to Philadelphia before you came. Was there a point in time where you met and then began to develop a relationship or friendship with Marcus Morris and Marcus?
Yeah.
When was that?
I want to say they were going into their 10th grade year in high school.
And This was in Philadelphia?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember the high school they went to? Was that the same high school as you, or was it a high school you were familiar with?
No, it was a school called Prep Charter.
So that was about 10th grade for them?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about how you met both of those individuals, Marcus Moore, and then how the relationship developed with them.
Yeah, well, pretty much it was, me coming home from Europe. They pretty much played on a club team where I played for. Pretty much was kind of started with me like in 96, 95, 96. By a guy by the name of Tennis Young, who I revere and who I love. And I would come home, and I would volunteer my time. I would cater to any of these kids, any of these young men, for whatever reasons. I don't. Honestly, it's kind of comical for anyone to see me as someone who would try to take advantage of anyone. And Marcus and Markeith, they know me, and they know who I am, and they know.
Objection, Your Honor. It's not a narrative. It's not responding to your question.
Sustained. Ask another question, please.
You said that both Marcus Morris and Markeith Morris, they know you.
Yes, sir.
Right? Once you met them, they were in 10th grade, can you tell us a little bit about how often you would be around those guys?
It was very often. I mean, they were my guys. They were my little brothers. It wasn't never on no. It was never, and it is never for me, just solely about basketball. Basketball is a bridge to a relationship, of course. I mean, that's where I'm at. I mean, that's where I work. That's what I do. I'm in the gym. I'm not.
Honor, same objection, Mr. Jones. This is well beyond the scope of the question.
Sustained.
So, at the time where you were developing a relationship with them, they, meaning the Morris brothers, were still in high school. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you attend some of their high school games?
Yes, sir.
Did you become familiar with not only the Morris brothers, but also their other families?
Yes, sir.
You know how many other family members they had, or even brothers, sisters, they had in them?
Yeah, their uncle, their aunt, cousins, mother, grandmother, grandfather. I had a pretty good relationship with.
Now, when you go to these events, and they're in high school, what are you above them in terms of age? You're about 7 years?
I want to say, I don't know how old they are now, maybe 9 years they're a senior.
Okay. So you're at their high school games, and eventually, correct me if I'm wrong, you went to some of their college games as well, is that right? Got to meet their mother, is that right?
Yes,
What's her name?
Miss Thomasine.
And you recall meeting her at the time when the two defendants, Markeith and Marcus, were in high school.
Yes.
And over time, let me ask you this, would you classify your relationship with her as one of friendship?
Absolutely.
Would you classify through 2000, well, I guess 2008, but when the Morris brothers were in high school going into college, would you classify your relationship with them as one of friendship?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Around the time that you had met them and then were going to their games, meeting their families, did you ever meet an individual by the name of Julius?
Yes.
Who is that?
They're a friend.
He's from Philadelphia?
Yes.
he also a basketball player?
No.
Did you spend time with Julius King?
No.
Back in Philadelphia, when you were spending time with the Morris brothers, was Julius King around a lot or no?
Well, honestly, when they were younger, he wasn't around. You know, at least when I was around them, it was more so. I want to say I met Julius the night of their senior prom.
Okay. Let me ask you this. This might kind of obvious, but the Morris brothers, they are twins, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And can you identify which brother is which?
Absolutely.
For purposes of the record we've been talking about, then, can you identify which one of the individuals is Marcus?
Yes, Marcus.
In terms of what they're wearing, where they're situated, and things like that.
Right, currently?
Yeah, right now.
Yes, Marcus has on the gray blazer.
And, well, for purposes of the record, can I have the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant, Marcus Morris?
Record will reflect that the witnesses identified Marcus Morris.
And same question for Marcus Morris.
He has on the blue blazer.
Same question, same question.
You provide additional
Sure.
information.
In terms of, there are a number of people situated at the council table. Where is he in relation to the wall? That wall.
Who?
Marcus Morris.
The wall right there.
The record will reflect the witnesses identified Marquise Morris.
Now, growing up, you've been to their games, and you indicated you've been to their games in college. Was it common for people to confuse the two of them?
Yes.
You've seen that before when people have come up to them? Is it easy for you to tell the difference?
Very.
Other than just kind of amorphous, like I see in their face, is there anything that you know of that distinguishes the two of them? Size, anything like that?
Honestly, no. It's just, you know, I mean, when you're around somebody so much, you just, you know, there's nothing that really distinguishes to me.
Now, eventually, talk about going to some of their college students. Where do they go to college?
The University of Kansas.
How many times do you think before the Morris brothers went to the University of Kansas, have you ever been? How many times do you think during the course of time they were playing basketball for the University of Kansas did you go to that school? Did you go to that?
Close to a dozen, maybe.
And at that time, you did not live in Lawrence, Kansas, where the university is, right?
No, sir.
So when you went to visit there, you visited them.
Yes.
What kind of things would you do in terms of when you would come and hang out with the Morris brothers when they were in college?
I mean, I would do what anyone would do with their children. You know, we would go out, we would hang out, we would eat, you know, what didn't we do?
And at this point in the relationship between you, Marcus and Marquis, you would still classify it as one friendship. You guys were getting along.
Yes.
And when you're in Lawrence, which is where the University of Kansas is, correct?
Yes.
When you're in Lawrence and you go up there and visit them, was Julius King ever around?
Yes.
There were times in college where, when you were there, he was associating with them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I know I asked you this question earlier, whether you would spend time with Julius King. And your response was no. But when you went to Kansas, to visit the Morris brothers, Julius King was around. Would you be hanging around all this?
Yeah, well, I mean, he was sleeping on the couch. You know, he was around. You know, that's their friend, that's their guy. So, of course, he'll be around.
And in terms of the three of them, Marcus, Marquise, and Julius, would it be fair to say you were closer with the two Morris brothers than you were with you?
Me and Julius we have absolutely nothing in common. So no, we weren't friends.
Absent the Morris brothers.
So
In terms of what you had in common.
I mean, just in general, even when I was there, it was, we would go to the games. That was pretty much it.
Now, in terms of the times where you've interacted with the two Morris defendants as well as Julius Kane, do you have an opinion as to whether or not they were friends at all?
What was that?
Julius Kane and the Morris brothers.
Yes, sir.
I think you indicated he was staying on their couch a lot of the time. Is that right?
Pretty much, yes.
Was that at times when they would have been like in the dorms and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
You know whether or not that during the time frame that the Morris brothers was at the University of Kansas, Julius Kane was living in Kansas.
Yes, sir.
He was.
Yes.
And the times where you came to visit, he was commonly around. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about, let me ask you this. When Julius Kane would be there, was he enrolled at the University of Kansas? Do you know if he was going to school there?
No, sir. He was not going to school.
So what was Julius Kane doing while you were there visiting him? What was he doing hanging out on campus?
Just living, pretty much.
All right. So we talked a little bit about Thomasine Morris, that you met her when you were in high school. During the course of time when you were going to their games in high school, going to their games in college, hanging out with them in college, did you stay in regular contact or semi-regular contact with Thomasine Morris?
Yes, sir. But, I want to go back. This thing, it isn't about basketball.
Thanks.
Let me ask you a better question. Prior to the time that the Morris brothers left the University of Kansas, was there a falling out between you and those brothers?
Yes.
And fair to say this falling out didn't come in sort of blows or anything like that, did it? What year were the Morris brothers in this? I'm trying to get a time, so ask that question. Around what year did this happen? This falling?
I want to say around 2011.
And why do you think that falling out happened?
Well, I know it happened.
Not
Okay.
rephrase my question.
Mm-hmm.
My question isn't to disagree about the falling out, it's why do you think that it occurred?
Because of a text message that was read from Julius Kane to Marcus and Marquis.
And based off of that text message, how did you feel that was interpreted? What set off the falling out?
It was interpreted in a negative light. I mean, obviously, I just believe that Julius didn't comprehend what he read, and relayed that information over to the boys, and they fell for it.
Now, is it fair to say that, in terms of this falling out, that there was a misperception from your perspective about what the nature of the relationship was between you and Thomas? Is that fair?
Yes.
Was there ever a meeting between you, Thomas E. Morris, and the two Morris brothers to talk about this?
No.
There was never a time where you physically sat down with all four of those individuals and talked this out?
No.
After this event occurred, was that the last, and then obviously there was some fallout after that in terms of communication, because someone told you there was an issue, right?
Right.
Who told you there was an issue?
They did.
Who's that?
The twins. Via text.
And this was, again, back in 2011?
Yes, when I was on my way back home from Lawrence, and once I got off the plane and powered my phone back on, that's when I received the text.
Okay. And after you received those texts, did you communicate any further with the Morris brothers after that? After that argument, right?
No. And honestly, it wasn't even an argument. You know.
Tell me what the texts were from your perspective in terms of.
With the text from them?
Correct.
It was just, stay the F away. I should have believed what everybody said about you. I should have never trusted you. It was pretty much just, I don't know. I mean, I guess they were hurt with the fact that they may have believed that I was trying to be in a relationship with Miss Angel.
Now, in processing all this information, were you hurt by this, by the fact that this relationship had suffered, meaning your relationship with the twins and the
I'm still hurt.
Now, after that text exchange happened, I think you said you were on your way back to Lawrence. After that conversation kind of came to fruition, did you ever re-engage in the years afterwards with either of them or
No, sir.
in terms of talking, in terms of visiting with them?
No.
Talking or visiting with them?
No. I mean, it crossed my mind plenty times. Losing.
Same.
Did you ever think about reaching out to them?
All the time.
But did you ever reach out to them?
No.
And besides the text that we talked about that came from them in relation to the misinterpreted text from you, did you ever receive any additional text from the Morris brothers in the years after that?
No.
So, Eric, I want to jump a little bit back to January of 2015. Were you in Phoenix at that time? I don't need the specific address, but where were you living? Were you living in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa?
I was living in a suburb in Ahwatukee.
And on January 24th, 2015, what were you planning to do that day? I want to ask you some questions about that day, but I want to know, when you got up that day, what was your plan?
To meet up with one of my mentors, hang out, go check out his kids, and just, enjoy the time with him while he was in town.
And who was that mentor?
His name is Alonzo Hickerson. He's also in Philadelphia.
Okay. And did you make plans? So let me ask you this. Was Alonzo in town for a basketball game?
Yes, sir. He owns and operates Reno International Prep. That was Reno, as in Nevada. Reno International Prep. It's a school for like fifth-year seniors, for kids that, for whatever reason, didn't qualify, passed their SAT or ACTs, don't have all of their core classes, and stuff like that. So, he would have me lecture the kids, make phone calls for the kids, stuff like that.
So that team, that Reno prep team, was playing in Phoenix, January 24th, 2015.
Yes, sir.
Was that a one-day event or was it multiple days?
It was multiple days.
So been to games prior to January 24th, 2015?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
The day prior.
The day prior.
And a month prior. They came out here before, played in a different event.
Now, you know where generally the games were held at that you went to?
It was my first time in the area. And, you know, I went back maybe a year ago just to kind of see the environment and the atmosphere. And the other tournament was held in Towson, Arizona.
So, the game on the 24th, that was in Phoenix, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had been there the night before to that gym, is that right?
Yes.
You mentioned that Alonzo Hickerson, a mentor of yours, was affiliated with Arena.
He owns and operates the school, yes.
Did you know anybody else that you anticipated being at the game that night?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Coach Greg.
What's his last name? Do you know?
Greg Wright.
Okay. And who is that person?
Coach Greg, after one of my mentors who started the club team that myself, Marcus, and Markeith played on, it was passed to Coach Greg, and Coach Greg pretty much spearheaded what was already started from my mentor, Tennis Young.
Now, prior to going to the basketball game on the night of the 24th, were you involved in a text communication with Thomas
Yes.
and was that irregular for you to be talking to her?
No.
We're going to get into some of the specifics about the text messages, but was one of the things that you relayed to her where you were going?
Yes.
And Judge, if I can approach.
Nick?
Eric, so we were talking a little bit about text messages in terms of that night. You indicated you had told Thomas Morris where it was you were going. Did you tell her the address, or did you tell her, how did you describe the game?
We were supposed to, I want to say, go to dinner, just hang out. She was in town, I was in town. And the night before, we were supposed to go to like Ruby Tuesdays or something like that.
Sustained. Sustained. Ask another question, please.
Sure. You recall texting Thomas Morris as you were going to first grade?
Yes, sir.
And based on the fact that you know Thomas E. Morris, that you know the E. Morris brothers, you have an understanding that he knows who first grade.
Oh, absolutely.
So, after sending that text, you eventually go to the basketball game. There you go.
Yes, sir.
And who do you go to the basketball game?
By myself.
And how did you get there?
I drove.
And around what time of the day did you get the basketball?
Maybe 2 p.m.
So early. And how many games were going to be going that day? Do you recall?
No.
Let me ask you about another individual. Do you know a person by the name of Erik?
Yes.
Who is that?
She's become a friend of mine.
And back in 2015, how long had you known? In January 2015, how long had you known?
That was maybe my second or third time ever seeing her. So I want to say maybe a week and a half, maybe.
And at some point, did you let Mr. Rod know you were going to the basketball game?
Yeah, well, we were supposed to hang out, and she just kept asking me, what are you up to? What are you up to? And I'm like, I'm at a game, and I did whatever I can do to try and get her not to show.
Well, let me ask you this: when you're talking to her, Mr. Rod, are you already at the game when you're having these conversations with her?
Yes.
Eventually, let me ask you this. It sounds like you weren't chomping at the bit to hang out with her that day. Is that fair?
Not during the game, but eventually we were going to hang out.
At some point, did you tell her the location of the game?
Yes, sir.
And did she come?
Yes.
You know at what point she arrived at the bar?
Had to be after halftime, right before, right after.
Did you go outside to greet her, or did you walk into the gym? How did that work?
No, yeah, she walked in.
The game was going on at that point?
Yes.
Now, at some point, after Mr. Rod arrives at the game, I take it she sits by you?
Yes, sir.
At some point after he arrives at the game, did you see individuals that you knew walking?
Yes.
Did some of those individuals include the two Morris brothers?
Yes, sir.
At what point during the game did you see them walking?
I want to say
Not to cut you off at a frame of reference. Was it before or after Mr. Rod was there?
afterwards.
Fair to say it was still in the second half of that basketball game then?
Yeah, maybe with about 10, 11 minutes left in the game, maybe.
Me?
Name that other Looking at witness list exhibits 62, 63, 61, 61, 65. Now, Eric, if you could look through exhibit 61 and 65, we had talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to see if you know what those are.
Yes, this is text messages between me and Miss Angel, Miss Thomasine.
And those text messages, those are basically pictures of screenshots. Is that fair?
I want to say that the Phoenix Police Department took photos of the text transcripts between me and Miss Angel, yes.
And that phone that is pictured in there, that's your phone?
Yes.
And those messages are fair and accurate to
Yes, sir.
Does everyone need to submit those exhibits into evidence?
Any objection from Markeith Morris? Mr. Bowman? Exhibits 61 through 65 are admitted. You want to show this on the projector?
Yes.
Would you like the lights dimmed? Would you like the lights dimmed?
Up here, exhibit 2. And there are 2 other screens in front of you. This is exhibit 63. Now, the date we're talking about, the day of the basketball game, that would have been Saturday, January 24th. Is that right? Eric?
Yes, sir.
In terms of the communication, you already explained this is your phone. The phone says blue. That's you talking, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the other response is Thomas E. Morris via text. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So on that day, at around 5:45, what were you at Coach Grace game?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall whether or not he gave you any indication when you were texting her who she was with?
I can't remember.
That calls for a yes or no. Would you like to withdraw the question?
I'm going to approach with exhibit 64. Eric, if you could review exhibit 64 and let me know whether or not, in reviewing that text message, it refreshes your recollection as to where Thomason said she was as this text conversation goes.
Yes, sir.
What was the suggestion?
The question hasn't been asked yet. I'll allow him to ask the question, and you can objection.
In terms of exhibit 64, does it indicate where Thomas E. Morris was when she was texting?
Yes, sir.
That was just a yes, so overruled on that ground.
Where does he say she was?
As to hearsay and speculation, are you asking him to read from the exhibit?
Correct. I'm asking to read from exhibit 64, which is connected as to where she was.
Overruled. You may answer.
She says, at home with the boys.
All right, Eric, so we kind of jump back to the text message. But we were at the point in terms of the event of January 24th, 2015, where I had asked you a question about if you saw people that you recognized on the video. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights back on.
Now, Eric, on that night, you recall seeing people that you knew walking the gym. You answered yes. Who were they?
Marcus, Markeith, and Julius.
And Eric, there's some Phoenixes up there, but if you need to take a break, you can let me know. And we can
I'm good.
as well. So you said you saw Markeith, Marcus, and Julius. Is that right?
Yes.
Did they walk into the gym, just the 3 of them, or were there other individuals walking?
Yeah, it was 5 of them.
There were 5 of them.
Yes, sir.
Did you recognize the other 2 individuals with them?
No, just one of them.
Now, when they came in, the second half of the basketball game,
honestly, when they walked in, it was mixed emotions. You know, it was, you know, I haven't seen him in so long, and you know, it was kind of like I was happy to see him, and you know, I just had so many things going through my mind. I mean, I was hoping that, you know, we can reconcile any differences that we had. You know, talk.
I know I asked you a question about what you were thinking. For a second, I'd ask you.
Counsel, could you approach?
Now, I had asked you before you were great, what you were thinking when they walked in. At any point, once they walked in, did you go up to the two Morris brothers or Julius Kane and talk to them?
No, sir.
At any point, did they walk up to you and talk to you? In the gymnasium?
No, sir.
Can you describe, as best you can recall, we can all imagine a gymnasium, but is this like a big arena-style gymnasium, or there are a lot of seats? Describe the layout as you recall.
It's probably the size of this courtroom here. It's not very big at all.
And were you sitting on the same side as the group when they came in?
Now we're sitting on the opposite side of the gym.
Yes?
Judge, and I would ask to approach with exhibits 188, 189, 190, 191, 192, and 193.
May?
I want you to take a look at those exhibits again, 193. What a group of enough to know if you recognize those exhibits.
Yes, these are photos of the night that I got attacked.
Let me ask you, are those photos taken of the basketball game?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And as part of, in the last few days, did you have the opportunity to review a videotape of the basketball game tonight?
Yes.
And that was a videotape that was taken of the actual game you played.
Yes, sir.
You play basketball for high school and college.
Yes, sir.
And then some professional in Europe. Is it oftentimes that they will videotape basketball games?
More times than not, yes.
And in terms of those pictures, is it fair to say that those are freeze-frame pictures from the video of the basketball game?
Yes, sir.
They're very accurate depictions of not only what's in that video, but also kind of what the gym appeared as that night on January 24th, 2015.
Yes, sir.
The government is looking at those exhibits.
Any objection, Mr. Eckstein? Ballinger? Mr. Lackey? Exhibit 188 through 193 are admitted. Are you going to publish?
Yes, sir. Publishing exhibit 191. Erik, in looking at exhibit 191, are you able to see yourself in that picture?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Hood, I saw you had the green stylus. If you use the metal end, you can write on the screen and it will write on the exhibit.
Thank you. So my next question is going to be, you put a little, whether it's a circle or a star above where it is you are. And looking to your left and looking at the picture to the far right, there's a person seated next to you.
That's Sharika.
show you a picture of the markers with 189. Now, does Exhibit 189 capture the 5 individuals that came into basketball game?
Yes, sir.
2 of those individuals you indicated you identified as Marcus Morris and Marquise Morris.
Yes, sir.
And it was also indicated who was one of the guys who walked in.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you put next to those 3 individuals just dots above their heads as to Marquise Morris, Marcus Morris, which ones you think they are?
Just a moment. Mr. Fisher, before he does that, can you change it from the arrow to hit the green? Now hit the pencil, please. There you go. Now you can do that. Done that.
And you put red marks over, so just so I'm clear, the red marks you're putting over are the 2 Morris brothers and then you and King. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you saw these guys when they came in, right?
As soon as they walked in, yes.
When they came in the gym, they walked in on the door to the left, right there.
Yes, sir.
And you indicated that at no point during either the time they came in or during the course of this game did you go over and have a conversation with them.
No.
And at no point did any of those guys come over and have a conversation with you.
No, sir.
Is it fair to say that if we look at Exhibit 189, you're sitting over to the right side of it, right?
Yes, sir.
When those guys came into the gym, did it appear that it was just Julius Kane, Marcus, and Marquise, along with 2 other random strangers who weren't with them, or did they appear to be together?
No, they were together.
And did you watch them all come in the door and sit up into those seats?
They didn't get seats initially when they walked in. They kind of parlayed by the door for a second and, I guess, surveyed where they want to sit or whatever.
And this was with about, what would you say, 10 minutes left in the game when all of this was going on?
Yes, sir.
Now, what happened towards the end of the game in terms of what you call, you ever see that group of individuals go to 5? You ever see them leave, get up? Tell me what you remember.
I remember, like maybe 50 seconds left on the clock. Marcus and Keith left the gym. They were all sitting up at the top. And then the other 3 guys, when they walked out the gym, the other 3 guys sat on the bottom row.
And did you say Spears, you were there with the images paper that you were staying on that side there?
Yeah, I didn't look.
As the basketball game ends, what happens?
I hung around the gym for as long as I could. And I heard earlier in openings that it was...
I want to ask you about... I want you to just answer the question.
Okay. I want to say I stayed in the gym for maybe 30 minutes.
Okay.
At least.
What about Miss Sherrod? Did she stay with you?
Yes.
And as the game was over, did any of those 5 remain that you saw in the gym waiting for you inside the gym?
Yes.
Who did you see in there waiting?
Julius and the other 2 guys.
How long did they wait? Did they walk out of the gym with you?
No. It was... They turned the lights out. The guy who works in the gym, or wherever it was, pretty much turned the lights out. Told everybody that was remaining in the gym that we had to leave. So that's when I started to exit the gymnasium.
Let's talk about that. So you're walking out of the gymnasium. What is the first thing you remember in terms of walking out of the gym?
When I walked out, want to say it was 2 sets of double doors. And so I walked out the first set, and then as soon as I walked out of the second set of doors, I saw Julius Kane with a t-shirt on, and in the gym he had on a sweater. So he was kind of like laid up against the wall, and he had his arms crossed, and you know, excuse my language, but he said, "MFer, you know what time it is." So I turn and look at him and say, "You know, what are you talking about?" And you know, as soon as he said that, I got hit.
Take a picture. Do you need the projector again? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights back on.
So, you indicated that you walked out and he said, I think you paraphrased it, "I want to try and talk about as best you can recall the specifics of that night." So, can you tell us what it was that you were doing when you walked out of the gym?
Yes. Excuse my language. You said, "Motherfucker, you know what time it is."
And where is Eureka's garage as this is going?
We were walking side by side.
Do you say anything back to Julius Kane?
Yes, I said, "What you talking about?"
And then after you responded, I think you said this earlier, is that when you were struck?
Yes.
Is that the extent of the conversation you had with Julius Kane? Or did you cover it?
That's it.
Oh, you said you were struck. Julius Kane with you?
I don't know who hit me.
You know where you got hit from?
I got hit on the left side, the back of my head.
And what did you do once you got hit?
I took off.
Now, it's fair to say that this event caught you off guard or surprised you when you walked out. I mean, ask it a better way. Were you expecting to get hit right there when you got hit?
No, I was expecting to square off with the guy that confronted me.
Now, once you got hit in the back of the head, you said you took off running. Can you describe the direction and where it was you ran?
I started to run towards my vehicle.
Erik, do you recognize what those are?
Yes.
Fair to say that those are Google Earth pictures showing by being close to the area.
Yes, sir.
And during the course of some interviews we had with you, you were showing some photographs, is that right?
Yes.
Is that the photograph you were showing?
I believe so, yes.
Or that was the photograph?
Any objections? Mr. Bellinger? Mr. Lackey? 186 and 187 are admitted. Brandon?
Erik, and we're going to have some additional pictures of this, but I'm trying to get something directed. Can you, with your pen that you have there, tab where you think the entrance to the gym was? So, now, sometimes it does that, Erik, press down, so. In terms of 187, you said you walk out the gym doors and you headed off to the parking lot. Is that right?
Yes.
Fair to say the parking lot was over where you started at? Now, I'm going to show you 186 too. This image is just a little bit below the facility. This is the courtyard area and road leading up to the gymnasium you were at. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We're going to move to some pictures that aren't Google Earth pictures, I promise you, Erik, in a little bit, but describe at the point in which you get hit, you say you're running to the parking lot, what happens after that?
I'm gone. I'm running down the street.
What made you stop from running to your car, make a decision to
just didn't think that I would make it.
Do you have any idea at the point in which you were running, whether it was towards your car running down the street, how many people were chasing?
I was out. I was running.
Well, eventually, you make your way down towards the bottom part of that exhibit, exhibit 1. Is that right?
Yes.
That street down there.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
At some point, do the individuals that are chasing you
Yes, sir.
describe what happened, what leads to how then laying hands on you down by the end of the street, how that all unfolded?
Yeah, I mean, I was running, I was sprinting. I didn't slip on no rock or anything like that. I just want to say that my momentum. It's kind of like, I was running fast. As you can see, it was a very, very long distance for me to get to that door down there. And pretty much I was running for my life. I was scared. And, my momentum just carried me, and I fell.
Now, once you fall to the ground, what happens?
I started to get attacked. I started to get pummeled.
Okay. Are you lying down on the ground when this occurred?
Yes.
Do you have any idea how many individuals at that point are around you?
Yeah, 5.
Let's describe a little bit about, as best you can recall, once you fall to the ground, is it all 5 descend on you and then find out how that all played out? Just going to the ground first. I want to hear the details that you can recall about what happened.
And it was the most terrifying moment in my life. So I fell. Remember Julius hold me on the ground. And as I was trying to get up, just kept saying, "Mook, you trying to get up? Mook, you trying to get up?" And then that's when I saw Marcus come over and kick me relentlessly. Kid Bowman, at that time, had on some boots, and I was kind of laying on my side here, and the guy, he just jumped straight up and landed on me, 2 feet. It was a flurry, it was, it seemed like it lasted forever to me. I don't know how long it took. I don't know how long, I was getting attacked. Then next thing I know, I wake up and
So what's the next thing you remember about that?
waking up and trying to gather myself together to stand up.
And when you wake up, are the guys who had been assaulting you, are they still there?
No.
All right. When you wake up, who's there?
Sharika and 2 other gentlemen.
Now, when you took off running prior to falling down at the end of the street, where did Teresa go?
I don't know. I didn't see her. And I feel bad, because
He wasn't running with you.
No.
And let me ask you this. Based on the encounter at the door and then what you typically experience, do you interpret that the individuals who confronted you were intending to target you or her?
did I relay that to her?
No, I'm saying you would, in terms of what was said to you at the door and everything that was said, you get the feeling that whoever those guys were and whatever they wanted to do, they were going to do it.
Yes, sir.
So, from the time and you run away from that entrance where you had been standing by her to the street. You don't know where she went until next you wake up.
Yeah, where that car.
You indicated that at some point during the attack when you fell down on the ground down the end of the street, that you would have came to hold it down and said something. What it was you said.
He just kept saying, Mook, he trying to get up, Mook, he trying to get up.
Do you have any idea who Mook is?
Yes,
Who is that?
that's Marcus.
What is that, in the market?
Yes, sir.
You know that nickname? College? High school?
Since high school.
So you knew, based on what Julius was saying, that the person he was calling for was associated with specifically Marcus. Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't even just what he said, is what I saw as well.
And I was going to go to that next. So after you heard that statement, Mookie's trying to get up, Mookie's trying to get up, you indicated you saw an individual coming to you.
Yes, sir.
You identified that individual as Marcus Morris.
Yes, sir.
Where did he kick you?
Where didn't he kick you?
Let me ask you this, did he kick you in the head?
Yes.
What are you doing as you are getting kicked in front of
I'm trying to survive. I'm balled up. I'm trying not to get hit. I want to say when they stopped, I kind of opened myself up to play dead. And to play dead, you got to be still. So that's what I did. And next thing you know, I'm waking up.
So, and I want to be clear about, I want to be clear about the people that you saw around you, right, in the ball on the ground. You identified Julius.
Yes.
You talked about Marcus Morris and what he was expecting and what he was looking for. Marcus is one of those, right?
Yes, sir.
Was there another individual, or who were the other individuals? Besides those two that we've gone over, were there other people down there?
Yes.
Describe what those people were wearing, what others were.
I want to say the young man had on tight jeans. I don't want to call them combat boots, but some type of Timberland style tan boots, and he also had a bandana.
Now, in the bandana, was this individual wearing the bandana on his face or on his head?
Well, when I seen him, he had it on his head inside of the gym. And I recognized the outfit from when I was getting attacked. When I was outside, I didn't see him with it over his face. I didn't see that part.
So the individual with the Timberland boots on and the bandana, that was one of the individuals that had come in.
He was the guy sitting closest to me in the photo.
Exhibit 189, you're talking about this individual? Okay.
Yes.
So that individual, who's depicted in 189, one of the 5 guys that came into the gym, that person, that's the person who was wearing Timberland boots? That was
Yes.
down there kicking you during the assault?
Yes, sir.
In terms of when they walked into the gym, you didn't know that person.
Never seen him a day in my life.
So now we've talked about 3 individuals that you recall being down there during the assault. Was there anyone else down there during the assault?
Yes. They all were there, all 5 of them.
Let's talk about
one kid had on all black with a black hat, and I remember in the fray, he was, I guess he started wheezing or started gasping for air. At that time, you know, I was in pretty good shape then, which I'm a shell of myself now. So it's no surprise that, to me, that it took those young men for me to fall, for them to catch up to me.
Let me ask you this, gentleman in all black that you're describing, is that individual within 189?
Yes, sir. Third from the right.
These two individuals right here, they're those are the more correct?
Yes, sir. The kid all the way near the railing. He's just one of the kids from the Reno team who was having a bad day that day. I think it was his birthday.
So, you talked about guy in all black. You said you remember him leaving or something like that. Can you describe him? And we're dealing with some individuals that are tall, some individuals that are strong. Tall?
Nah, he's little.
How little?
And maybe 5'2", 5'3", about a 125, if that, 130.
What about the other individual with coming up with a serious famous person that you know outside of that day? Right.
I've seen him. Yeah, I wouldn't say I had any type of relationship with him. Nah, maybe 5, 7, 8, maybe.
How tall are you?
6'5" with shoes. About 6'4.5".
The third individual, the individual in the booth, said it is depicted in 189. Around the same size as, let me ask you this, was it more towards King spectrum size when you saw walking in the gym, or was it towards the size of the two boards?
More towards Kane.
Take our 3 o'clock break. Ladies and gentlemen, the admonition will continue to apply. We're going to take our 3 o'clock break for approximately 15 minutes. We would be back in the jury room at 3:20. The admonition will continue to apply. All rise.
The order for cross on this witness.
Slowly.
The pattern.
But I'm sorry, Judge.
That I'm starting to sense a pattern.
Yeah. Pattern in a practice, but it's really, it could change.
The habit. All rise. Please be seated. We are back on the record in CR 2015-001671-001, 003, and 004. State of Arizona versus Gerald Bowman, Marcus Morris, and Markeith Morris. We are back in the presence of the jury. All counsel and all defendants are present. Ladies and gentlemen, from time to time, we need to break up a witness's testimony due to scheduling issues. That's what is going to happen now. The state is going to call a witness. We're going to break with Mr. Hood's testimony in order to call a different witness out of order. Next witness, please.
Thank you, Judge. State calls Mr. Ramiro Ruiz.
Mr. Ruiz, if you would please come forward toward me. I'm going to have you stand right in front of my clerk. I'm going to confirm the spelling of your name and administer an oath to you. Sir, if you could walk around my court reporter and come be seated to my right. I'm going to go over a couple rules with you. The woman that's seated in front of you is typing up a word-for-word transcription of everything that is said, so all of your answers need to be verbal. You can't answer a question by shaking your head. Also, if you say or I'm probably going to interrupt you to make sure the record's clear that you're saying yes or no. Also, you may know where the lawyers are headed with their questions, but my court reporter can only type one person talking at a time. So you need to be patient and wait for the question to conclude before you begin speaking. Mr. Bailey, when you're ready.
Thank you, Judge. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Excuse me?
Introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, my name is Ramiro Ruiz.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Ramiro Ruiz.
Okay. And Mr. Ruiz, how old are you?
Years old.
29 years.
I'm going to have you grab that microphone and just move it back. Thank you very much, sir.
How long have you lived in Arizona?
I've lived in Arizona for 27 years.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
And where do you work?
I work at A&S Market.
Work? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's on 15th Avenue in Camelback.
And how long have you worked there?
3 years.
Okay. You were scheduled to testify today, correct?
Yes.
And on your way to court, something happened. What happened?
This morning, my niece complained of pains, and we had to take her to the hospital.
Okay. And when you say we had to take her, who had to take her?
It was me, my brother, and my mother.
And so after this, do you need to get back to the hospital?
Yes.
All right. We thank you for staying around for your testimony, and hopefully we'll get you out of here very quickly. Are you familiar with a place called the Arch?
Yes.
What's the Arch?
It's a sports complex on 15th and Poulter.
Right. And how are you familiar with that location?
I used to live in the apartments right next to him.
All right. Did you used to go to the Arch?
Yes, I used to go to the field area.
All right. So when you say you would go through the field area, are you talking about walking through that field area?
It was through the entrance and going to where the Ramada was at.
Did you say you would go where the area where the Ramada is at?
Yes.
All right, and we'll jump ahead to that. What is the Ramada?
The Ramada is, I believe it's used as a food court.
All right, and is that an area that's on the property of the Arch?
Yes.
Were you ever in the gym of the Arch?
No.
All right, and why would you go to the Ramada area?
I would go there to train with my cousin.
And who's your cousin?
Aaron Rivera.
Did you say Aaron Rivera?
Yes.
Does Aaron have a first name?
What's that?
All right, but you know him as, or you call him Aaron?
Yes.
All right, and why would you and Aaron go there? And I apologize if I ask that again.
We would go there so I could help him train with this MMA.
You said you would train at that time of night?
It depends on his schedules. Sometimes we train early, sometimes we'll be later in the day.
Okay, so essentially you and Mr. Rivera, Aaron, would go there and train?
Yes.
How often would you go there?
Would probably be right before a fight, 2 or 3 times before a fight.
So would you go there maybe once a month, once a week? What would you estimate based on your experience there?
Twice a month, most likely.
What did you say?
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
Yes.
All right. And do you know if Aaron lived in that area as well?
At that time, he lived on 19th and Camelback.
How close is 19th and Camelback to the Arch?
Probably a block away.
All right, so it's fairly close?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember being at the Arch, specifically the Ramada area with Aaron back on January 24th, 2015?
January. I do not.
Let me ask you this, a question this way. Do you remember being at the Arch one time in the Ramada area and you saw what you believe to be was a fight?
Yes.
All right. And on that night, why did you go? Why were you at that area?
He wanted me to help him with his striking.
So you said he wanted to have you help him with his striking. Are you referring to Aaron?
Yes.
And when you say striking, are you referring to practicing mixed martial arts?
Yes.
Okay. So how long had you been at that Ramada area before you saw what you thought was a fight?
5-6 minutes.
So were you there a very short period of time?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember if it was dark out?
It was already sundown.
And the Ramada area where you were practicing striking with Aaron, do you remember seeing any other people in that area right when you got there?
Not when we got there.
So it was just you and Aaron?
Yes.
At some point, did something grab your attention?
At the moment when he was doing his striking, I heard running. We both heard, and we turned around, and that's when we just see some people running right behind us on the street.
Okay. So you said you were practicing the striking, and you saw, you heard running.
Yes.
And then you turned around and you saw people running.
Yes.
Do you remember how many people you saw running?
5 or 6.
All right. And do you remember if they were running together?
There was one person in front and then the rest right behind.
All right. So we had one person in front and the rest of them were following behind. Do you know how tall those individuals were?
By tall, probably 6'2", 6'3".
All right. So you're guessing about 6'2" or 6'3"?
Yes.
And when you see these people running, how far away are you from them?
We were by the Ramada, so they were running down the street, probably a couple yards.
All right. So you're saying you're about a couple yards away.
Yes.
And I think we have a board, and let me show that board to you.
You can mark it now. So you're marking on the screen. So
This
middle, the metal side, that side. Yep. The more you are, the more it will respond to.
Good man, I have exhibit number 219. I wasn't planning on showing you this, but if that helps, would you let me know? Does that look familiar to you?
Yes.
All right. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at an overhead view of the arch.
Okay, and is that a fair and accurate depiction of the arch?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, state moves to submit exhibit 219 into evidence.
Any objection, Mr. Eckstein? Mr. Ballinger?
No objection, Judge.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection.
219 is admitted?
You ready to say publish that?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. I'm gonna hold it in an angle in hopes that we can see a better view of it. If it helps you for me to put it the right side up, let me know. But we have something that's been marked Ramada. Is that what you're talking about as far as the Ramada?
Yes.
All right. So are you able to, you should be able to put a dot on where you and Aaron were when you were practicing striking. Can you do that?
I'm going to clear that and have you do that again.
Yes.
So you're standing in that area. Is that where the area you're in?
Yeah.
Okay. And where do you see people running?
When I heard running, I was to this area right there.
All right. And so you said you estimated that was about 3 or 5 yards or so away.
Yeah.
And is that is it dark in this area, or how's the lighting?
In the area of the matter where I was at was fairly dark.
All right.
And
then I apologize. Were you done?
yeah.
Okay. And then you said that you believe that people were about 6'2" or 6'3". Was that correct?
Yes.
Do you know if that Ramada area is higher than the street?
Yes.
Okay, so you're standing a little bit higher than the street level. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So you see a group, and how many people did you say you believe you saw running?
5 or 6.
Okay, so 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. And you see these individuals running. Now, you and Aaron are practicing striking. What do you do once you see them running?
We turn around and we see just them running, and we just go back to doing what we were doing.
All right. Did you want to get involved in that?
No.
Why didn't you want to get involved in that?
There were too many people, and there was only like 2 of us.
Oh, okay. So you go back to practicing striking. What happens next?
After we go back to practicing, we hear a noise over by the entrance on this area. So we turn around and see what seems to be a confrontation. We just go back to doing what we were doing.
All right, you still want to have nothing to do with that?
Yes.
All right, so you see them, a group of people, I believe with what the second red mark you made towards what's called Coulter Street?
Yes.
All right, and you still don't want to get involved in that, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, are you able to what's going on there?
From my angle, there was an electrical box and a bush near there, so I wouldn't see clearly. I remember seeing some people around what seemed to be a motion of kicking up against the gate area.
And why did you think it was a motion of kicking?
From what we do and the type of practice we do, it seems to be that kind of motion that was going on.
Okay, but to be fair, you said that there was some obstruction for your view, so you couldn't see it entirely clear.
Yes.
Okay, so when you see that kicking going on with that group of people, what do you see next?
Afterwards, we hear running back. Turn, and I see 3 or 4 people running back up.
Okay, so at that point you said you saw 3 or 4 people coming back
Towards the main
building, that gym area. All right. Do you see any other people?
When I saw them running back, we heard, after a little moment, we heard cars coming out, and some people just get in the cars and they head out.
So you said you saw a car coming and some people got into that car. I don't believe I asked you, do you remember the ethnicity of those individuals you saw running?
No, it was dark and I just seen shadows, no fish or no distinct.
Do you remember seeing what those individuals were wearing as far as clothes?
No.
Right. After that, after you saw the people go back to the gym, and then the people in the car those people get in the car, what did you and Aaron do next?
We were finishing up our training and gathering up our equipment.
All right, do you remember talking to anyone else at the Ark that night?
Right when we were finishing up, the rest of the cars started pulling out, and that's when I believe it was a gentleman who owns that area came down to tell us that he was closing the gate. Yeah, they were closing down.
Someone came out and told you they were closing?
Yes.
And when you said closing, are you referring to the gym?
The whole complex. He was getting ready to close the gate.
Okay. Did you know that individual's name?
No.
Had you seen him before?
I've seen him mowing the lawn every once in a while.
All right. Do you remember what he looked like?
He was an older gentleman, already balding.
Okay. Was he white or black?
I believe he was white.
Okay. So he came out and told you they were closing?
Yes.
And then what did you and Aaron do?
We started gathering our stuff, and I believe he started talking to us about...
Well, we don't want to talk about what he said.
Okay.
But just what did you and Aaron do after that?
We just told him we're already finishing up, and we gathered our stuff and left.
Okay. One moment, Judge.
Yes?
Do you remember where you saw that group of individuals down by Coulter Street? Do you remember if you saw anyone that appeared hurt?
No.
You don't remember seeing anyone that appeared hurt down there?
No.
Okay. And I didn't ask you before, but have you ever heard of someone that is named Marcus Morris prior to that day?
No.
Have you ever heard of someone named Markeith Morris prior to that day?
No.
Do you follow basketball at all?
No.
And also, to be fair, when you saw that group of individuals running down there, you said you don't believe you could really ID any of those people who were running. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that was because it was dark?
Yes, it was already dark out.
Do you remember seeing a girl at any time down in that area?
No, no girl.
Okay. Mr. Reeves, I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Cross, Mr. Eckstein? Would you like that up or not?
Properly. Mr. Ruiz? You'll recall we got together several weeks ago and talked about some of the things you discussed here today. Do you recall that conversation?
Yes.
And at that time, we asked you, and obviously you explained today, your familiarity with the Arch property. You've been there, as you told us, no fewer than 20 times. Is that right?
Yes.
And sort of recall that there's no lighting, I think you said, sort of in between where the Ramada sits and obviously the gates and all the way down to Coulter Street. There's no lighting in that whole area. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's very dark there. Yes? Yes. And when we spoke, you indicated that you saw one person running, that it appeared to be a male. Is that right?
Yes.
He was around 6 feet and 210 pounds. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then there were 3 or 4 people running after him. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then you told us at that time, because I was trying to ask you, what you could remember about those individuals, and you said you weren't sure if the people chasing this individual were male or female. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you said you couldn't remember any other characteristics for those individuals, including height. Is that right? Today, you have some recollection that some of the people, I guess, who were chasing were 6'2" or 6'3". Is that correct?
Yes.
So if there are 4 individuals chasing him, 2 of those people are 6'2" or 6'3". You tell me the heights of the individuals who you saw chasing.
From my point of view, since I was standing on the Ramada, it's a bit higher, and I'm at 6'1". I guess their height just depending on my height.
So you think all the people who were chasing, whoever they were chasing, were about the same height?
Yes.
Okay. And none of them seemed exceptionally tall to you, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Your Honor, if I could have my client, Marcus Morris, stand, please.
Yes.
I'm my client is not 6'2". Would you confuse our heights, our sizes? Were we together in this scene?
Yeah.
You would confuse them.
Well, since I was a bit higher, I'm like, I have a...
Right, why don't you stand up if you could? A bit higher than us. Do we have the same height to you?
No.
Yeah. And you described in your testimony before that, to make sure I understand this correctly, you saw individuals who had been down by the gate running back in the direction toward the gymnasium, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you said that you recalled seeing individuals in cars that were leaving the property. Were these things that happened in the same space, or are these two distinct things? So what I'm asking, did you see the individuals running back to the gym get in a car?
I saw people running back, and then moments later, cars pulling out.
Okay, so you saw those people, and then after they were running down, you saw cars coming from the direction of the parking lot. Is that right? You don't know if the people you saw running were the people who were in those cars. Is that right?
Yeah, no, they were the ones who got in the car.
Nothing further.
Mr. Ballinger, any questions?
Could you stand up, Marquis? I'm actually not 6 feet. I'm like 5'9½". But you said you were about 6 feet tall.
About 6'1".
And from your vantage point, you said the people that you saw running, I think the quote along about 6 feet, they were about your height. You said you were 6'1", and the persons you saw were about your height.
If I remember, I believe I said they were 6'2" or 6'3", around there.
This person's pretty incredibly, he's pretty tall. You would agree with me?
Yes.
You didn't see anybody that tall running down the street, did you?
No, I did not.
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Lackey?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Reeds, do you remember being interviewed by a detective from the Phoenix Police Department?
Yes.
And do you recall about when that was?
I believe it was February 6th.
Okay. And do you remember telling that detective that you saw maybe as little as 4 to 5 people running?
Yes.
Okay, so it could have been as few as 4 people running past while you and Aaron were practicing. You never identified anybody involved in this incident from the Arch Center, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. You identified a fellow by the name of Gerald Bowman as being involved in this incident, did you? No. Nothing further. Thank you.
Only one follow-up question, Judge. You said as little as 4 or 5 people that you saw. Were those, was that including the person that was being chased or not?
No, that's not including the one being chased.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any questions of this witness from the jury? May this witness be released, Mr. Bailey?
Yes, Judge. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Ballinger?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lackey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or you may sit down. Would you like to recall Mr. Hood?
Yes.
And, sir, you are still under oath.
Believe it or not, buildings kind of change a little bit in the time frame where Google Earth gets their picture. So I'm going to go off of 219 for some questions about
where you were, where you ran, where you fell. But you believe, based on a review of 219, that that looks like a fair and accurate depiction of the ground as best you recall.
Yes.
Now, we had, before we broke, had talked about, we had gotten to the point basically where you ran down past this Ramada, down to the gate. Down into here, where my finger is that area down where it says gate and in between Coulter Street, is that the area where you believe you fell, or where you were attacked?
Yes, sir.
Was it outside of the property, or was it inside? So was it more towards this Coulter Street area, or was it inside the actual gate right there?
Yeah, it was inside of the facility.
Okay. And so we had gone over some of the specifics you recall from the individuals who had descended on you once you were down on the ground. And I had asked you a question about who was all there, and I believe your response was all of them. I want to clarify that question with you right now. You indicated that Marcus Morris was an individual who kicked you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You also indicated that Julius Kane was an individual who was holding you down and made those statements that we've already covered. He's getting up, correct?
Yes, sir.
We've also described the other two individuals, the individual in the all black and then the individual in the Timberland boots, correct?
Sir.
Prior to that day, you did not know those individuals.
No.
Is it your belief that based off of observing them in the game that day, prior to going outside, that those two people were the same two people that went into the game?
Yes, sir. No question.
Okay, so even though you didn't know those people, you believe that those two people that came down all the way down to the gate that were involved in the beating of you were the people that came into that game?
Yes.
Now, my question to you is now turning to Marquise Morris. Again, you made a statement that indicated all of them were there. I want to ask you specifically a question about Marquise Morris. He was there that night, correct? He was at the game?
Yes.
Was there a time in which you saw Marquise Morris outside of the game?
Yes.
Okay. Can you answer me, and this is as best as you can recall, whether or not you, strike that and reword that so you can track me. Do you ever recall Marquise Morris ever hitting or kicking?
No.
So, and sometimes I ask questions that are kind of overgeneral. The question, he was there, upon clarification, so I'm clear, you do not recall Marquise Morris ever hitting or kicking?
Correct.
But you do recall seeing him outside?
Around the fray, yes.
Okay. When did you see Marquise Morris?
Around the fray.
Around the fray?
Around when I was getting attacked.
Okay. Now, it's fair to say, we're going to go over some of these scene photos here with you, but while you are being hit and kicked, were you protecting your face at all?
Really, I was just bailed up. You know, I mean, I had my visual. You know, I could see everything. You know, I was kind of just on the ground, one hand here, and just kind of protecting my temples and my head.
I'm going to show you a couple of exhibits here. First, we'll just look at exhibits 5 and 7. Do you recognize what exhibits 5 and 7 are?
Yes.
What is that?
Over here, it's pretty much the entrance into the facility.
I'm going to approach with one other one. This is just those are kind of a split image. This is exhibit 8. Is that depicting the same thing, just a different angle?
Yes.
And these are fair and accurate representations of the front gate area of the arts facility?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move that these exhibits.
Mr. Exton?
What numbers are they? Dan? No, I have no objections, I just want to know the numbers.
5. You said no objection.
I did, Your Honor.
5, 7, and 8 are admitted.
Now, in looking at Exhibit 219, it highlights gate and bolter. I want to ask you, in looking at Exhibit 8, permission to publish.
Granted.
Do you see in Exhibit 8 the area where you fell to the ground and where you basically hauled up and were protecting yourself? Do you see that area there?
Yes, sir.
Can you mark with that pen, and now I know you're getting the hang of using, where that area is in Exhibit 8? So, that curve area right there, you believe you fell in an area that was on the pavement, not the rocks?
Yeah, I was in the street.
Okay.
There isn't any rocks.
You weren't the rocks, that was it. Give me 1 second. Approach with exhibits 14 to 43. Do you recognize exhibits 14 to 43?
Yes.
And what are those?
This is the entrance to the gym.
And by that you're referencing exhibit 43 or
43.
exhibit 14?
43.
Is it fair to say 14 is just another picture of the street approaching the gym?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit these.
Mr. Eckstein?
No objection.
Mr. Ballinger?
No objection.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection, Judge.
And 43 are admitted. Before I delete that marking, would you like to memorialize that it is on the east side of the entrance? Curbside. You may publish.
Exhibit 43, Mr. Hood. Now, we talked a little bit about your recollection of this evening. By this evening, I mean on the 24th of January, 2015. We've heard you describe what you did. I want you to use the pictures and kind of show us a little bit about where certain individuals were situated, and especially you can recall how things progressed through these exhibits. Because it's one thing to hear you say it, but I want to see if you're able to show us a little bit. Okay? So exhibit 43, you indicated is the doors to the gymnasium, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you recall whether or not at the arts facility, when you entered those doors, whether there was a second set of doors to get into the gymnasium or no?
There were.
There were?
2 sets of double doors, yes.
Okay. When you talked earlier about a confrontation you had with Julius Kane at the doors, my question to you is, was that at the outside part of the doors or was that in the inner doors by the gymnasium?
I wouldn't call it a confrontation because it wasn't.
Okay. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm sorry. The time where you walked out of the gymnasium and Julius Kane said, and I'm paraphrasing, you know what time it is, was that on the inside or the outside?
Outside.
Okay. Outside of these main doors here.
Yes, sir. Right here, where this gentleman is standing with the red sweatshirt there.
Now, do you recall in looking at Exhibit 43, obviously you would have been walking out those doors, whether Mr. Kane would have been to your right when you turned out or to your left?
He was to my right.
Okay, so is it fair to say that he's somewhat close to the person in red in this picture?
Yeah, he was pretty much standing exactly where that kid is on that photo.
And to be clear, you have no idea who this person in the red is?
No, sir.
I'm sure he does not know he's in this picture. So, as you come out and Mr. King is to your right, do you turn and face him? I'm trying to get a sense of if you show in this exhibit where you got hit from, how you were standing, things like that.
When I walked out, he was standing to my right. And I mean, you know, body language, you know what I'm saying? I mean, his body language, you know, kind of showed me that.
You had indicated earlier in testimony that you thought there might have been some sort of squaring up or something at that point. Did you say something along those lines, or am I putting words in your mouth?
Yes.
Okay. So is it fair to say that, based on your recollection, when you turned out, you had turned your attention towards Mr. Kane?
Yes, sir.
And fair to say that it was pretty immediate upon doing that then you were struck from the back?
Yes, like simultaneously.
Okay. And are you pretty sure that the individual that struck you didn't come from over on this side, the side you were facing?
I don't know where it came from. I don't see him.
So after you get struck in the back, do you recall whether you fell down there?
I can't remember.
Okay. But eventually you get up and you start running, correct?
Yes.
There's Exhibit 14, and let me ask you a couple of questions just to get our bearings. This is the gym facility. This is the arm, correct, Mr. Hood? Yes, sir. Okay. And the doors we were just talking about, they're depicted over here, is that right?
Yes.
We've shown, as is the case in Exhibit 219, that there's a ramada down here. In Exhibit 14, fair to say that this looks like the beginning part of the ramada right here?
Yes, that's where the two gentlemen were boxing that I saw.
Okay. So you do recall, let me ask you that right now, either during the assault or after the assault, or during the time that you were getting back into your ride there, do you recall seeing any other individuals present outside, other than the ones that we've already talked about that were involved in the assault?
The lady on her balcony smoking a cigarette. On her balcony.
And when do you remember seeing her? Was that when you were running or afterwards?
No, it was afterwards.
And you indicated that there were individuals practicing boxing. Mm-hmm. Now, my question to you is, do you remember seeing those individuals, or is that information that you learned later?
No. I saw them as I was running.
Okay. Now, in terms of Exhibit 14, do you recall once you started running, whether or not this exhibit shows the direction you would have run? Can you show us the way you were going in this picture? Is it good for that?
Yes. Came out of the gym here, went over that grass there, then I just took off on the border of the street.
All the way past the Ramada?
Yes.
All the way to the point in which is depicted in Exhibit 8 that you had marked earlier, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now let's talk a little bit, Mr. Hood, about what happened after the punching and kicking stopped.
You want the lights on?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights back on.
Now, I believe your testimony earlier on direct was at some point you think you blacked out or passed out or something of that nature. Is that fair?
Yes, sir. I was knocked unconscious.
Okay. So, at some point, you woke up. And we talked about that briefly earlier, that you remember Ms. Sharika Sharad being there. Is that right? Yes. Do you remember any other individuals being there?
Initially, I did not. But yes, I do. Once I woke up, I just remember standing up, and when I stood up, I just fell back down and hit my head on the car, and then I just remember Sharika being there and two other guys, physically put me inside of the car.
Now, after you woke up and Sharika was there, you said you were getting put into a car. Whose car was that?
Mr. Ross.
Mr. Rod's car? And were you able to stand once you woke up?
No.
I believe your testimony is that you had to be helped into the car by Mr. Rod and those other individuals.
Yeah, I just think the other two guys kind of grabbed me arm by arm and just kind of, I was dead weight, and I think they just had me arm by arm and just shoved me in the back of the car.
Now, once you got into the car, Mr. Rod drove you from there, is that right?
Yes.
And you know where you ended up once you left the art facility? Where did you drive to?
It's an emergency room.
And do you know whether at any point during the drive to the emergency room, let me ask you this, do you recall placing a 911 call? Did you make that call?
No.
Okay. Do you recall being in the car and listening to Mr. Rod place a 911 call?
Not that I remember.
Okay. But eventually you ended up at the hospital?
Yes.
I can have just a moment here.
Yes.
Mr. Hood, I'm going to approach with some exhibits. I'm going to approach first with exhibits 9B.
90, Dan?
90, 94, 95, 98, 106 and 107. I want you to look through some of those photos, Mr. Hood. And I want you to let me know whether or not you recognize what those are pictures of.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. I know that I was up there flipping through them. If you could just make sure and look through all of them just for the record.
I seen them as you were laying them down.
And in terms of, and I'm going to repeat the numbers again, 90, 94, 95, 98, 106, and 107. Do you think these are fair and accurate depictions of you as your current state was in the hospital on January 24, 2015?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit these pictures. No objection.
Mr. Bellinger?
No objection.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection.
90, 94, 95, 98, 106, and 107 are admitted.
Going exhibit 90. 94, 95, 98, 106, 107. Mr. Hood, in looking at those pictures, do you remember when the police came to take your pictures?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, sir.
How long had you been at the hospital at the time the police officers showed up?
I'm not sure.
Give me one more minute, Mr. Hood, I'm going to go for the pictures. For the record, I'm approaching the witness with what's been marked as exhibits 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 23, 121, 122, and 126. Mr. Hood, I know you told me flickers of those pictures. Do you recognize what those are pictures of?
Yes, sir.
Are those pictures of you at the hospital that night?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit those pictures.
No objection.
No objection.
Mr. Lackey.
No objection.
Exhibits 116 through 123 are admitted along with 126.
Permission to publish it.
Granted.
That's exhibit 116 and 117. In exhibit 116, you had a watch on that day, Mr. Hood. Do you remember whether or not that watch got busted or broken from this?
Yes.
Exhibit 118, 119, 120, 123, 121, 22, and 126. Mr. Hood, I have a question for you in terms of some of these pictures and what you recall. Do you remember being at the hospital?
Yes.
Do you remember whether you were in pain at the hospital?
Excruciating. Yes.
Is that excruciating pain, sir?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe kind of what hurt on you? And how bad it hurt?
I was having trouble breathing. As I was going through therapy, they found out that I had cracked ribs.
Action, Your Honor.
Sustained.
And my question, Mr. Hood, and I will talk a little bit about some of the medical aspects later. I just want to know how you felt and what was hurting on you. And I know, well, that's the question. Did your head hurt?
Objection, leading.
Yes.
Overruled.
Yes, I'm still experiencing migraines to this day.
Objection. Beyond the scope of the question. He's asking about what he remembered from pain at the hospital.
Sustained. The answer yes stands.
Do you remember your neck hurting?
Yes.
Yes, you did your back end or ribs hurt. And you saw doctors that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor,
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights back on. Oh, Mr. Fisher, could you get me 213, please? Ladies and gentlemen, the parties reached the following stipulation. The parties agreed that the following facts are true and correct. On January 25, 2015, Erik Hood sustained a fractured nasal bone from an altercation that took place on 1550 West Coulter Avenue. This fracture was diagnosed by Dr. Tahir El-Kahari on January 24, 2015. Mr. Fisher?
Thank you, Judge. Now, Mr. Hood,
questions about that, but I want to have a couple of things clarified that I'm not having your questions. So, do you recall in the days after this event talking to police officers?
Yes.
Do you recall multiple times talking to an individual who you know as Detective Santos?
Yes.
And do you see that individual report?
Yes, sir.
And Detective Santos, he was the case detective on this case as far as you knew?
Yes.
And you did multiple interviews with him?
Yes.
I want to be clear about the times in which you had discussions with Detective Santos, and I'm going to ask you your recollection about when those events occurred. I don't want to get into the details of what those conversations were, but do you remember, first of all, talking to a Phoenix police officer other than Detective Santos at the hospital? Do you remember that?
I can't say I do.
Do you remember talking to Detective Santos at the hospital?
There were other officers in the room. I just don't remember if I exchanged any type of dialogue with those officers.
Do you remember talking to Detective Santos at the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And then there were other officers there. Do you recall talking to Detective Santos in the days following?
Yes.
And do you recall upwards of maybe 4 interviews with Detective Santos in this case? Does that sound about right to you?
3, 4, yes.
Were the majority of those interviews that you conducted with Detective Santos regarding what you had seen, what you had heard, were those done in the days following the attack?
Yes.
And you had given him an audio recorded statement within 24 hours of this attack at the hospital, is that right?
Yes.
I want to ask you some questions about things that you said regarding the events that occurred that day. Do you recall that your initial statement to law enforcement indicated that all 5 people involved, that you had seen them either hit or kick you? Do you remember making a statement like that at one point?
Yes.
Do you remember a couple days later talking to Detective Santos and clarifying what it was you recalled?
Yes.
Okay. Specifically, I want to ask you, was there a point in time where you told Detective Santos that you could not be sure whether or not Markeith Morris had ever hit or kicked you?
Yes.
Do you remember telling Detective Santos?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
You know, I didn't want to lie. I just wanted to correct the statement that I made.
Is it fair to say that during the, well, you had seen all of the individuals who had attacked you earlier in the night prior to the physical incident, correct?
Yes.
So was there any doubt in your mind that Markeith Morris and Marcus Morris were at the Arch facility?
No.
And there was no doubt in your mind that Julius Kane was there, correct?
No, sir.
And that those 2 other individuals that came to the court, or that not that came to the court, that came in to the basketball court, were the ones that were outside of you?
Yes.
And there is, and I guess you've answered the question as to why you indicated to the detective in a subsequent interview you were unsure as whether Markeith did you or not, and you corrected that and said that you could not be sure that he ever did that, right?
Correct.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm not being flippant. Was it your plan on January 24th, 2015, when you went to Coach Gregg's game at the Heart to get beat up?
Objection.
Basis?
It's argumentative, calls for speculation.
Overruled, you may answer.
Well, I didn't go see Coach Gregg. The only reason why I implemented Coach Gregg when I text Miss Angel is because she knew who he was. So I went to go see Alonzo.
Okay.
So no, I didn't I wasn't going there planning on getting attacked or having any type of confrontations with anyone. I never have.
We talked a little bit about some of the pictures, and I mean, we saw a little bit of what you were wearing. You said you had a nice watch on. Was that a nice watch that you had on, or no?
It was all right.
I guess the reason for my question is, did you anticipate needing to either run and or sprint and or get physical altercation when you showed up in the yard?
Absolutely not.
Now, we talked a little bit about, you talked to the detectives at the hospital, you talked to the detectives again probably 48 hours later. In the weeks after this incident occurred, do you remember talking to certain individuals, be it friends or family?
Yes.
Okay. As part of this investigation, did you offer to the detectives a look at some of your cell phone records?
I remember when I was in the emergency room, they asked me certain questions and
Objection, Your Honor. That called for a yes or a no, and now it's...
Yes.
You do remember doing that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was there some confusion, and I don't want to use that word, and I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach?
Yes.
Mr. Good. Before we took that break, I was asking you some questions about your cell phone. As part of your discussions with the police department, the police inquired about obtaining images from your phone. Is that correct?
Excuse me, not necessarily images, but just pretty much a text transcript between me and Miss Angel.
Okay. And as part of that, you turned over your phone to police to be analyzed. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, because I had nothing to hide. Yes, I turned my phone over to the police department.
And is it a fair characterization from you that you turned it over thinking they were looking for just text messages, but in fact what they did was a complete phone dump on your phone? Is that fair?
Yes, I had a signed document stating that they were taking a text from January 24 to a certain time to January 25th to a certain time. I had signed the document. I actually went to...
Your Honor, that was a yes or no question.
Christine?
So,
yes.
The moral of this is you expressed willingness to give the detectives your phone to look at some text messages that day, correct?
Yes, no problem.
And as an end result of this, ultimately, the contents of your phone around this time period, the entirety of your phone, was, I don't want to use the word dump, but it was released in terms of in the police records. They had everything. It wasn't just what you thought it was more than that. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, and we've talked and we've showed some screen images of the text with Ms. Thomasine a couple of hours ago when we were talking about this. But the question before we got into all this cell phone discussion was, did you talk to your family members and friends after this incident in the weeks following the attack?
No.
Okay. Did you ever, to your recollection, mention the fact via text, whether with friends or family, that the Morris brothers were involved in this case?
No.
Okay. If I can approach the witness, Judge.
Yes.
Mr. Hood, I'm approaching with Exhibit 185. And I want you to look through this for a little bit and tell me if you know what that is.
Just look like text messages.
Okay. And what was your, well, let me ask you this without just pronouncing it out. Is your phone number one of these numbers listed on here at the time?
Yes.
Okay. So you believe these to be fair and accurate depictions of some of the text you had going in. Some of these dates include January 26th, so 2 days after the event, or February 11th, 2 days after the event.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
May, just the number of the exhibit.
185.
Thanks.
Now, do you recall telling anyone that you were going to make the twins pay for what they did?
Yes.
Okay, you do recall doing that?
Yes.
And was that in the weeks after the assault that you said that, things like that?
Yes.
It is true that, well, and I'll ask you, these text messages, if they were to depict conversations in February or late February, these were weeks after you had already given statements to police about what had occurred that day, correct?
Yes.
And I don't want to, well, I'll ask you this question. As part of the purpose of saying you wanted the twins to pay, if you want them to be held responsible for their pay.
Absolutely.
And that was responsible for what you thought their actions were on the 24th?
From what I know, their actions were on the 24th.
It is true, Mr. Hood, is it not, that there is a civil suit pending regarding this incident, is that correct?
Yes.
And that is a suit that you have filed, correct?
Yes, with
Objection.
advice of my counsel.
Just,
Objection. It was a yes or no question. It goes beyond the scope of the question. It's just-
Disdain?
Yes.
That civil suit is pending.
Yes, sir.
And as part of the reason, and I don't want to get into anything that is between you and your attorney, I'm not asking questions about that, but as part of the reason why you did that, the same reason you already elicited or already stated, that you wanted them to be held responsible for what they did.
Objection, meeting, Your Honor.
Disdain? Rephrase, please.
Why did you, let me ask it in a way that, why did you feel the need to file a civil suit?
Because I wanted them to talk.
Okay. Was part of the reason why you filed a civil suit because you were given advice by attorneys?
Yes. Which happened a year later, year and a half, actually, after I got attacked.
So that was going to be my last question on this line of questioning. When did you file a civil suit?
I was advised by counsel. Honestly, I don't know the exact date. They brought it to my attention, asked me how did I feel about it.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Hood, not to cut you off. Was it within 2 weeks of this incident that you filed a civil suit? Was it within a year of this incident that you filed a civil suit?
No.
So it was over a year later?
Yes, sir.
After you had talked with detectives numerous times about your version of the events that occurred that day?
Yes.
Folks, the witness that exhibits 201 through 207.
Yes?
Everybody, if you could look through those and recognize what those are.
Yes.
What are those?
Images of me and Marcus and Markeith and a few other guys.
And are those pictures taken in the time frame around, fair to say, around college time frame?
Yes.
Permission to admit those exhibits, Judge, 201 through 207.
Objection.
201 through 207.
Yes, any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection.
201 through 207 are admitted. Permission to publish is granted.
Exhibit 203, I'm not going to show you all these as they've been admitted, and you're going to get them later. Do you remember when this picture was taken, Mr. Hood?
Yes, that was actually the last time I seen him.
So where was that at?
That was at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, Nebraska.
So you had talked earlier about some text you received from the Morris brothers indicating that there was an issue regarding the falling out of the relationship, and you had gone off a plane when you got those. Was that on the return from this trip?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Exhibit 201. Do you know where this picture was taken?
I want to say St. Louis.
Okay. Now, the Morris brothers are not in that picture, is that correct?
No, sir.
That's correct. Is Julius Kane in that picture?
Yes.
Where is he?
To the right.
And at the time that picture was taken, to your recollection, were the Morris brothers around, or were you just hanging out with Julius Kane one-on-one?
No, it was never one-on-one. We were, I'm not sure if we were going to pick up our tickets at will call, if it was at halftime. I can't recall exactly when it was.
I guess you're right out of the break.
Now, I have a couple additional questions in terms of, we had talked earlier, you had reviewed the basketball footage of that day prior to today. Do you remember us talking about that?
Yes.
And you believe that the exhibit or the CD that I provided you with the copy of the basketball game was a fair and accurate depiction of the game? And do you recall, in terms of that CD, whether or not you initialed it and dated it?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Does that look like the CD that you viewed in terms of basketball game footage?
Yes, sir.
And does it look like your signature?
Yes.
Date?
Yes.
Mr. Hood, we're going to have, probably going to be tomorrow when I show you this video, but we're going to go through and I want you to identify some individuals that are on it. Judge, I think at this point I would want him to identify some people that are on that video in terms of his perception, so it's going to take me a minute or two.
Break. Are you moving to admit 182?
Judge, I would like to admit 182.
Jackson, any objection?
Only in that I'm not sure what's on there. Mr. Fisher avows that it is the same video that was used in the course of discovery in this case, then I have no objection.
It will. It is.
Mr. Ballinger?
Well, my objection would be that it's 403, Your Honor. It's cumulative. We already have photos of the exact game in play, so this is just going
All right, 403. Mr. Lackey?
I would join Mr. Ballinger's objection.
All right, I'll take a look at it before I rule. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to recess for the afternoon. The admonition will continue to apply. Please continue to keep an open mind. Again, avoid any media coverage that may be connected with this case and avoid